My friends, today's gospel tells of a time when Jesus planned a vacation for himself and his disciples. Let's face it, they all needed it. Their lives had been absolutely consumed with their work. The more people they helped, the more people there were needing help. St. Mark says, people were coming and going in such great numbers, making it impossible for them to so much as even eat. No one can endure that kind of pressure for too long. So Jesus decided that they all needed to get away and just to rest for a while. Now, the details are really not given, but no doubt there was some planning involved in anticipation of their brief and well-deserved holiday. As they made the necessary provisions and headed quietly across the Sea of Galilee, their thoughts were focused on the events of recent days. Things had been happening so fast that there was barely any time for them to sort them out or even to talk about them or discuss them. Now, they were going to have that opportunity, and it was almost too good to be true. That was how they had it planned, but that was not how it turned out. As they drew near to the land, they began to see what looked like a crowd of moving people. And as they got closer, there was no mistaking those familiar sights and sounds and faces. Their expected solitude was buried in a wave of needy people reaching out for help. Now, on some level, that experience comes to each of us. We plan one thing and end up with another. Life at times seems to take delight in disrupting our plans. Sometimes it's simple, like rain on the day of a picnic. At other times, it's far more serious and even earth and world shattering. You made plans for a secure financial future, but you didn't count on losing your job. You had plans for a happy marriage and a good home, but your spouse had other plans and walked out on you. You had planned for your children to go to college, but when the time came, instead they chose to just go to work. For yourself, you planned a long, healthy life, but the medical diagnosis tells you that such is not the case. You see, these are the realities of everyday life. The critical question becomes, how do we react when our plans don't work out? Well, there's a good chance that most of us would respond with resentment. We are inclined to react negatively whenever something we want is denied us or something we do not want is forced on us. In our minds, if not on our lips, is the oft-related and repeated question, why me, Lord? What did I ever do to deserve this? In this life, we had better learn to expect the unexpected. We want one thing and we get another. That's really part of everyday living. Now, Jesus could have been resentful when it happened to him, but he didn't, and neither should we. I think another thing we can do is to passively resign ourselves to the inevitable. I remember hearing about a neighborhood scripture study group, and each member was to mention their all-time favorite Bible verse. Well, one quoted John 3:16, God so loved the world. Another mentioned Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Another mentioned the golden rule, do unto others. And finally, one woman said that her favorite verse from the Bible is the one that says, grin and bear it. Well, obviously, she didn't know much about the Bible, but she did know a lot about life. To every one of us comes those times when everything depends on our ability to just endure. Our willingness to hang on, to keep going when we are tempted to give up. But surely there must be a better way, an easier way to react to all this. Well, Jesus shows us the way. When his plans did not work out and he did not become resentful, he simply did not just endure the disappointment, but he used it. He turned adversity to his advantage. The scripture says that he pitied them and he began to teach them many things. That shore that day became a classroom, and the people left there with a few seeds of eternal truth planted in their minds and hearts. Now, when the Pharisees questioned Jesus' morals, he did not become someone who resented it or who merely endured it. He used it for the backdrop of one of his best-known stories, the prodigal son. And even when they nailed him to a cross, and he not only endured it, but he used it, he turned that ugly instrument of death into the most powerful influence of good that the world has ever seen. So the question is, how do we respond when our plans don't work out? Well, as I see it, we have three options. We can become bitter and resentful. We can accept and endure, or we can take that disappointment and use it to accomplish something good in our world and in ourselves. So which will it be? May God give each of us the faith and the courage to make the right choice.